So we just talked about percent increase, which was when something ends up costing more, they raise the price. So now we're going to talk about this percent decrease, and this happens a lot more often, because things go on sale. We're about to have a lot of percent decrease with Black Friday sales. Maybe something isn't selling very well, or maybe you lose some money. They cut your pay for budget cuts or something. So those are all examples of percent decrease. Now, we already know how to write a proportion using percents. It's always going to be part over whole equals percent over 100. Now, to do a percent change problem, our part is going to be our change, what changes, and our whole is going to be our original value that we had at the very beginning. So the new formula to find the change is just new minus old. To find the original, that's just your old or your original value. Again, you set it equal to the percent over the 100. So let's do a quick example. Okay, so it says Chris has an 80, like in class, but stops doing his homework or his work in class, and his grade drops to a 60. What is his percent change? Well, the first thing we notice is that our two numbers are 80 and 60. The 80 is what he has. So if you want to think about that, that's like saying that's our old grade. And the 60 is what it drops to. So that's like saying that's our new grade. Now we know this percent change is going to be a decrease because it went from an 80 to a 60, so it decreased 20-point values, not 20% values, 20-point values. So we're going to use new minus old divided by old, the percent change formula, equals percent over 100. The question is asking what is the percent change. Remember, the question always tells you what x is, so what is percent change? So the percent's going to be our x. Again, we know our new is 80. Just kidding. Our new is 60. Our old is 80. So I'm going to plug everything in the formula, and then I'm going to solve it. Okay, plugging everything in. When I subtract on the top, 60 minus 80 gives me a negative 20. Now that tells you, since it's negative, that tells you right away that you're dealing with a percent decrease problem. So again, the negative tells you it's decrease. If you subtract and you get a positive number, then that means it's an increase, and that's what we worked with last time. So if you want to, you can just ignore that negative because we already know it's going to be a decrease, and you can just put that in your answer. When you have a fraction equals to a fraction, that's an x. When you have a fraction equals to a fraction, you can cross multiply. So we have 20 times 100, which is 2,000, and then 80 times x, which is 80x. Now we're solving for x. Since they're multiplying, we're going to divide by 80, which is the same thing as saying 200 divided by 8. Let me do that one over here. See, 8 goes into 2 0 times, goes into 22 times. 8 goes into 45 times. Okay, cool. So that's our answer. Again, x was on top, which meant it was the percent. So that's a 25%. And again, is it increase or decrease? Right, it's decrease. So Chris's grade went down 25% just by not doing his work.